In January, a bill to stop members of Congress from trading individual stocks got its first committee vote in over a decade. Cameras were there and statements were made, then nothing. It's July now, and that bill still hasn't gotten a floor vote in the House. It hasn't moved in the Senate either, and the reason why should make you furious. Because this isn't a case where Washington couldn't find a bill everyone agreed on. They found one, a genuinely bipartisan bill, and they buried it anyway. Hey, welcome back to today's episode where we're going to talk about the greed of the US Congress and their lack of accountability. If you're interested in this, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It means the world to me and my team behind the scenes making this happen. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. This isn't a story about one party protecting its own, because honestly, that would almost be easier to explain. Republicans wrote a bill, Democrats wrote a stronger one, and instead of joining forces behind whichever version could actually pass, both sides spent the spring making sure neither one reached the floor. While they argued about whose version counted as real reform, members of Congress kept trading openly, legally, while sitting in classified briefings and on committees that hand them information the rest of us will never see before the market reacts to it. And this isn't new. It's the same fight with the same excuses that's played out in Congress for over a decade, which should tell you this isn't an accident. It's a system working exactly as the people inside it want it to. Some background: after a 60 Minutes report in 2012, Congress passed the Stock Act, supposedly banning insider trading by lawmakers. It never banned stock ownership, it just required disclosure within 45 days. Since then, dozens of members have blown past even that basic requirement and paid fines that barely register against the size of the trades involved. This year, House Administration Chairman Brian Steele introduced the Stop Insider Trading Act, H.R. 7008, in January. It cleared committee on a party line vote. It bans new stock purchases by members and their families, requires a week's public notice before selling, and fines violators the greater of $2,000 or 10% of the trade value. Sounds fine until you read the fine print. Members keep every stock they already own. Crypto and commodities are exempt. Spouses can keep trading under certain conditions. The president, the vice president, and federal judges aren't covered at all. And the last part matters more than it sounds like, because we already have a working model for how strict this should be. Federal judges are barred from holding individual stock in companies whose cases might come before them. Full stop. The appearance of a conflict is treated as qualifying on its own. Nobody serious is proposing anything stricter for Congress than what we already require of the people wearing the robes. Meanwhile, a genuinely bipartisan working group, progressives like AOC and Representative Jayapala, alongside conservatives like Chip Roy, Brian Fitzpatrick, and Tam Burchett, they had already built something tougher: the Restore Trust in Congress Act, a full ban on individual stock ownership, exiting holdings sold off within 180 days of enactment. That's the version government watchdogs actually wanted. It's also one that leadership in both parties let die on the vine. Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna tried to force the issue with a discharge petition, a procedural tool that can drag a bill to the floor over leadership's objections if enough members sign on. She needed 218 signatures and she got 82. And as the midterms crept closer, the coalition that had been pushing hardest simply started to crumble, with members privately admitting their own stock profits are a subject nobody really wants dragged into the spotlight during an election year. This isn't the first time this exact fight has played out either. Back in 2022, when Democrats controlled the House, then Speaker Nancy Pelosi, one of the most frequent targets of stock trading criticism because of her husband's trades, faced the same pressure to bring a ban to the floor. It went nowhere then, too. Different party in charge, same outcome. Here's what they're protecting. A common cause analysis found members of Congress execute more than 13,000 stock trades worth over $635 million in 2025 alone. While writing the laws, sitting in the briefings, and voting on the regulations that move those exact markets. Watchdogs didn't mince words about the bill that's actually moving. The Project on Government Oversight called it a paper tiger, riddled with loopholes. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington said it lets members keep enriching themselves while claiming to advance meaningful reform. Even the bill's own backers are publicly blaming each other. Republicans pointing at Democrats for torpedoing the tougher consensus deal, Democrats pointing at the House leadership for stalling the vote, watchdog groups blaming both of them. And here's the part that really shows you how normalized this has become. There's now a literal retail investment product built on it. An investment firm launched two exchange traded funds, one tracking the stock trades of Democratic members of Congress, one tracking Republicans. The fund tracking Democrat trades has returned roughly 74% since early 2023, built on a tech heavy portfolio anchored by Nvidia and Microsoft, and it now holds over $250 million in assets from ordinary people betting that Congress will keep beating the market. Sit with that. There's a financial product whose entire pitch to regular investors is copy the trades of the people who write the rules because they clearly know something you don't. Notice what's actually happening here. This isn't your team versus their team. It's every member of Congress who profits from a system built by the people writing the rules versus the rest of us. The people who don't get a floor briefing before the market moves. President Trump called for a ban in his own State of the Union address and got bipartisan standing ovation. Elizabeth Warren is calling the weaker bill a scam from the left. The reformers pushing hardest for the tough version include Democratic Socialist from the Bronx and Freedom Caucus conservative from Texas, standing on the same side of this fight. When Trump, Warren, AOC, and Chip Roy are all aiming at the same target, that tells you exactly who the real opposition is. And it isn't the party on the other side of the aisle, it's incumbency itself. There's a version of this that actually works, and it already has bipartisan co-sponsorship sitting in a drawer right now. It bans ownership outright. It forces divestment. It treats public service the way we already treat federal judges. No individual stocks, period, because the appearance of conflict is already a conflict. The weaker bill already has more than 90 co-sponsors. That's proof the political will exists to move something. The job now is making sure the version that reaches the floor is the one with teeth, not the one designed to make this issue quietly disappear before the midterms. That takes the same kind of sustained public pressure that got a discharge petition to 82 signatures in the first place, pushed further. That's the full picture on this one. If you want the rest of what's happening in Washington and beyond, hit subscribe because this is exactly the kind of story that gets buried unless people like you keep sharing it. As always, if you made it this far, thank you, I love you, and we'll definitely talk soon.